This next example in 4.3 day 2 is going to look a little bit like the last one, where we're drawing a picture and we are finding the whatever ratio it is that they're asking us to find, but it's just presented in a little bit different way to start with here. So notice how it started. It says we're going to evaluate the remaining trig ratios, whatever is given to us. In this case, we want to find cosine and cotangent if we know that, well, sine is 1/4 and tangent is less than 0. Now here's just a quick translation. If we've got this where if it says sine is equal to 1/4 and tangent is less than 0, what they're getting at here is that tangent is negative. Okay, so tangent's negative in this case. Now why would we need that information? Well, part of it, this sine is this 1/4. That'll set up a triangle for us to be able to evaluate with the cosine and cotangent. But another part of this is just that we need to locate what quadrant it's in. Now, we made this quadrant map yesterday in 4.3 day 1. And so if you want to take a look back at that to determine how we got all these things, go ahead and look back at one of those videos. But for now, we're just going to trust this map and make sure we're in the right place. So here, sine is 1/4. That means sine is positive, and then tangent's negative. So sine positive, tangent negative. The only quadrant that fulfills both of those things is this one right here. It's going to be quadrant 2. Sine is positive and tangent is negative. So we're going to be putting our picture into quadrant 2. So I'm going to draw my picture over here, put it in quadrant 2. Now it says that the sine is 1/4. So that's opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm just going to make my triangle the best I can. It doesn't have to be perfectly drawn to scale, but that's going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Now, once I do that, I'm going to want to do the Pythagorean theorem to find out this last side here. Now, being that this one is in the second quadrant, notice that it is going to be a negative value. So when you solve it for that one, you'll be solving it as a negative value because it's in that quadrant. Now, just to remove some of the details here, you're probably really well aware of how to use Pythagorean theorem. That ends up being square root of 15. So negative square root of 15 for that part of the triangle. Now that we have this triangle set up, and this is considered our reference angle here, we're going to just find out what is the cosine and cotangent for each one of those, for that particular angle. So cosine of theta, who knows what that angle is? We're just calling this thing right here, that's our angle theta. We're using the reference angle. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's going to be negative square root of 15 over 4. And we can leave it at that. There isn't any simplifying that needs to be done there. Next is cotangent. And in that one, cotangent is adjacent over opposite. Since there's a 1 on the bottom, we can just leave it as negative square root of 15. And there we have the pieces that we were looking for. So again, we figure out what quadrant it's in. That's step 1. Step 2 is to draw the picture. Once the picture is drawn, then we set up the ones that we're looking for, the ones that are mapped out in the problem.